The UFC's return to Houston, Texas is in the books, and while I wouldn't necessarily label the prelims as barn burners, the main card absolutely delivered, and that includes the main event performance as the former champion Sean Strickland would turn back the clock, maybe even have the best performance of his entire UFC career as he would halt the 8-fight win streak of Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. He would stop his momentum, and he would reinsert himself instantly right back into the middleweight title picture, and maybe, just maybe if the UFC pulls the trigger, immediately into a title shot against Khamzat Chimaev. And not only was Sean Strickland able to get a bounce back win coming off of his title fight loss to Dricus du Plessis in February of 2025 after over a year on the shelf, but he would pick up his first finish victory since July 1st of 2023 when he would knock out Abus Magomedov. This time he would finish with strikes Anthony Fluffy Hernandez at the 2-minute and 33-second mark of the third round after pretty much dominating this fight from pillar to post. And while I wouldn't say it was like the most one-sided bout that I've ever seen, he did essentially double Anthony Hernandez 110 to 55 in terms of significant strikes landed, and really was able to solve the puzzle that is Anthony Hernandez that all 8 opponents prior to Sean Strickland have not been able to, because in every one of those bouts, Anthony was able to insert his will on those opponents, finishing 6 of the 8 during that stretch. And he pretty much had his way and dominated every single one of them. But in this one against Sean Strickland, he never really was even able to put his foot on the gas. He wasn't able to pressure forward like we're so used to him doing. And he did not have any success when it came to the grappling realm, as he would officially only attempt 1 takedown and Sean Strickland would stuff that attempt. And not only would Sean Strickland double the amount of strikes landed from Fluffy, but he would double the output as well. As in just 12 minutes and 33 seconds, he would attempt 242 total strikes. And he now sits in the number 3 spot in the middleweight division, having won 5 of his last 7 bouts, and the only 2 losses were to the same man, Dricus du Plessis, both in championship bouts and both going the full 25 minutes, with one of the 2 being very, very close and competitive. And so with Sean Strickland getting a stoppage here against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez and ending his 8-fight win streak, with him being a former middleweight champion, and with him being one of the biggest names not only in the middleweight division but in the entire UFC, he very well could be a frontrunner for Khamzat Chimaev's throne. And I say that only because the UFC never 100% pulled the trigger on Nassourdine Imavov following his victory against Caio Braujo last September in what had all the makings of a number 1 contender bout. But here we are at the end of February with no signs of him versus Khamzat taking place. Damn it, there's rumors of Khamzat even getting rid of the middleweight title and moving up to light heavyweight. So if I'm Nassourdine Imavov right now, I am sweating in my boots.
What?
I am genuinely worried that I'm not going to get my opportunity to challenge for middleweight gold because of this performance from Sean Strickland and because of the fact that Khamzat has not had any murmurings of a fight coming up anytime soon. Now, I will say it is easy that if Khamzat Chimaev truly is about to go up to the light heavyweight division and challenge for the title, then I think it's pretty simple. You just book Sean Strickland versus Nassourdine Imavov for the vacated middleweight belt. Bada bing, bada boom, hands clean, it's easy. But if Khamzat Chimaev is not moving to 205 and he is staying at middleweight, then I think it gets a little murky, because what do? Do you give the rightful number 1 contender Nassourdine Imavov, who's on a 5-fight win streak against top-level names in every single one of those bouts, or do you give it to someone who is a former champion with a big-time victory here in Houston, Texas over a surging contender in Anthony Hernandez? If you're the UFC, if you're the matchmakers, and you sit down in that war room on Tuesday, what are you deciding on? What are you going to do with this middleweight championship, with this middleweight division moving forward in 2026? Is it Khamzat Chimaev moving up and he's vacating the belt and we do Strickland versus Imavov? Or is it Chimaev versus Strickland or Chimaev versus Nassourdine? And let's just say that they do decide to go with Khamzat Chimaev versus Nassourdine Imavov, the fight that absolutely makes the most sense from a merit perspective, then I do think it gets a little odd for Sean Strickland, because I look through the rest of the division and there's only really one name that I think makes sense, someone else that has momentum, and that is Brendan Allen, who also shares a history with Sean Strickland, because they fought back in November of 2020 and Sean Strickland would not only win that fight, but he would actually finish Brendan Allen via TKO, so they could potentially run it back in a solidified number 1 contender bout if Chimaev and Imavov takes place. But outside of that, I don't really see another matchup for Sean Strickland right now, just given his current state in the division, his name value, his former championship status. It's definitely a weird situation right now in the middleweight division, so what do you think the UFC should do? Let me know down below. In the co-main event, we saw Uros Medic get the biggest win of his entire mixed martial arts career, and especially in the UFC, as not only only would he get a top 15 welterweight victory, not only would that come against the veteran in Geoff Neal, but it would come via first round knockout in just 1 minute and 19 seconds, and he would put Geoff Neal out cold. And I'm telling you right now, this man's nickname isn't the Doctor because he is a doctor, but it's because he sends his damn opponents to the hospital. This man is absolutely vicious. All 13 of his victories have come by way of stoppage, 11 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's now on a 3-fight first round knockout win streak. Come Tuesday morning, he will be in the top 15 of the welterweight division. Damn it, he's going to be close to the top 10. And in my opinion, he had the promo of the year so far in the aftermath of this bout as well.
Houston, we have a problem, and it's me. I am the problem. This division is in trouble. They need some of this. They need it. And I'm here to deliver. I'm going to knock everybody out and bulldozer through this division. Yes, sir. Sure, I lose sometimes, but I'm just a human being. I may lose again, but you bet your ass I'm going to come back and fucking knock people out again.
So it was a 10 out of 10 performance from Uros Medic, a 10 out of 10 promo in the post-fight interview, and a 10 out of 10 call-out, because after this performance and on that microphone with Michael Bisping in the center of that octagon, he didn't sweat it one bit, and he called for the former welterweight champion of the world, Leon Rocky Edwards. And I'm telling you right now that he's sitting at number 8 in the world, and some of the wheels are starting to turn in this welterweight division, that fight makes all the sense in the world, and from a stylistic perspective, it is insanely intriguing given the kickboxing skills of Leon Edwards, giving the finishing prowess of Uros Medic. Leon would be attempting to come back from his first ever knockout loss against Carlos Prates last year. It checks all the boxes of what we'll see in terms of action in the cage, and it's a big step up in competition for Medic. It's a proper step back in competition if I'm Leon Rocky Edwards trying to halt the momentum of someone climbing the ranks. Uros Medic, you stole the show at UFC Houston. My hat is off to you because I think you have set yourself up for massive things in 2026. Another newcomer to the top 15 in their respective division come Tuesday morning will be Melquizael Costa, as he picked up his 6th win in a row, in his 4th of the 6 by way of finish, and this came against the 14th ranked longtime veteran Dan Ige, who was in a very similar situation as the aforementioned Geoff Neal, and in the aftermath of UFC Houston now finds himself in eerily similar situation because he also got finished, he also got knocked out, and it happened in round 1 via spinning back kick with just 4 seconds to go in that opening period. What a performance from Melquizael Costa. What a solidifying stamp on it to do what he did at the end of that round. And at 29 years of age, he is right in the middle of his prime and already has 33 professional bouts to his name with a 26-7 record, and he has finished 17 of those 26 victories with 9 knockouts and 8 submissions. The Dalmatian is a legitimate player now in this featherweight weight class. And the fight that makes sense to me as I look up and down the featherweight rankings is none other than the 7th ranked Arnold Allen, who is coming off of his loss to Jean Silva back at UFC 324, is in need of an opponent moving forward in 2026, and this fight absolutely screams at me for the UFC to book, as it would be a proper step up in competition for Costa against a very game opponent in Arnold Allen, who is not easy to finish, mind you, has never been finished in his career if I'm not mistaken. And so you have a durable veteran who's been in there against some of the best featherweights in the world right now. Melquizael would have another opportunity to prove himself and launch himself into the top 10 of the featherweight division as well. Sign me up. There was a top 10 matchup in the heavyweight division on this card as well, as the 7th ranked polar bear Serghei Spivac was taking on the 9th ranked former PFL champion Ante Delija, and they would actually have the best heavyweight fight of the year so far. I know we don't have a large sample size, but bear with me, as these two would go back and forth, toe to toe, tit for tat in the striking realm for 15 straight minutes. I was shocked that no one got knocked out in this bout, and it was the polar bear himself, Serghei Spivac, at 31 years old, riding the ship, ending his 2-fight losing streak to Waldo Cortez Acosta and Jailton Almeida, and he is back in the win column for the first time since he beat Marcin Tybura in August of 2024, and is now in a position in this heavyweight division that desperately needs help, or he is 1 or 2 wins away, depending on how the UFC match makes him, from a title shot in this weight class. And it was an interesting performance because we're used to Serghei taking his opponents down and finishing him with TKOs or submissions on the canvas, but this one quite literally took place on the feet the entire time, and he got the better of a very powerful, dangerous Ante Delija. This was one of the better performances from a full 15-minute perspective that we have seen Spivac put on, and I believe that he earned a proper step up in competition because of it. And I think that it should come against someone that, believe it or not, he has not fought before, the former Bellator heavyweight champion, sitting at number 2 in the world right now, coming off of a loss to Serghei that you could arguably say he shouldn't have lost. None other than the giant 6'7" Alexander Volkov, number 2 versus number 7, potential title shot on the line in the summertime at heavyweight. UFC, that's the fight. We saw the 30-year-old Jacoby Smith hold on to his perfect professional record, now sitting at 12-0, 9 knockouts, 1 submission. And at UFC Houston, not only would he get another victory, not only would he get another stoppage, but it would come against another fellow undefeated fighter, the 11-0 Josiah Harrell in his UFC debut. And after a scrappy back and forth beginning of the fight, Jacoby Smith would get his opponent down to the canvas, put him in the crucifix position, and absolutely secure a nasty, brutalizing ground and pound knockout win, and he now sits at 3-0 in the UFC after he had a 2-0 debut year with 2 finishes in 2025, now kickstarting the year in February of 2026 with another finish victory. And in the aftermath of this performance, he would call out Kevin Holland, who was in attendance at UFC Houston, but currently has a fight scheduled against Randy Brown, I believe at UFC 327. So let's just say that Jacoby Smith maybe can fight the winner or even the loser of that bout, and if he wins that one, he will be fighting a top 15 welterweight in the next one. And last but not least, we have to talk about the hottest name right now in the women's bantamweight division. And no, it's not Kayla Harrison. It is the 14th ranked, soon to be closer to top 10 on Tuesday morning, Joselyne Edwards, La Pantera out of Panama, who just picked up her 4th consecutive finish win in a row. And this one had to taste better than all of the others because it was a revenge matchup as she would finish Nora Cornolle, who beat her in September of 2023. But Joselyne Edwards was able to do it in much more convincing fashion as she would lose a decision to Nora 3 years ago, but now she would pick up the 2nd round submission win after nearly knocking her out with a slam down to the canvas. You could say, and it's not even arguable, that the fight should have been stopped when she was landing the ground and pound. For some reason, the referee did not want to stop the fight. So instead, Joselyne just decided to lock in the rear naked choke instead and force Nora to tap. So not only are no other women's bantamweights picking up victories like this, but she is doing it, Joselyne Edwards that is, by way of stoppage and putting a statement and finishing these fights in emphatic fashion, and she needs to be awarded by getting launched up the bantamweight rankings right now. Not just 1 or 2 spots up, but big time push in 2026. And the fight that I would make for Joselyne Edwards in the aftermath of UFC Houston is a former title challenger and currently ranked number 6, Irene Aldana, who has not fought in quite some time. I believe Noche UFC in September of 2024, so an entire year of inactivity in 2025. So why not welcome her back against the hottest thing going at women's bantamweight right now, Joselyne Edwards next. So that is it for my UFC Houston recap and my takeaways, and it's time to turn it over to you. What were your biggest takeaways? What were your reactions? And what do you think is next for the big winners at UFC Houston? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this recap, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, as every single week I recap the most meaningful results from every card. Heading into each weekend, I break down the biggest and best fights and storylines, and I also give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can also join the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as like the Facebook page Verbal Sparring MMA, and you can follow on your favorite audio listening platforms such as Spotify and Apple, where every Monday and Friday podcast episodes release there. Have a great week, and I will see you all in the next video.